Markets in South Africa up. So we're up around 0.8% or so, but very light volumes. The US market closed today for Martin Luther King Day. Anything exciting happening in the market for you today?
Yeah, look, it was very surprising to see the markets close up 277 points. After all this morning, the Aussie futures, as we came in at 8:30, they were actually negative by about 100 points. That's quite a nice swing. And after the downgrade that happened on Friday evening, one would have thought and one would have anticipated that markets would be a lot weaker, but Europe really did shrug off the bad news, as well as the possibility.
But we had quite a big warning last week, so it's almost like markets had expected it.
It was probably known. And the fact that Greece could possibly have 100% default also came into the picture. But as I said, it just seems that Europe has shrugged it off. We're at key levels now. We're above that 33,000 level once again. And I actually have come on the show quite a few times and did say that I think we will retest all-time highs. We're probably very, very close now, between 100 and 200 points. So I do anticipate that we will retest those levels and very possibly break above.
The exciting thing is, I mean, we've got the price-earnings ratio of the overall market sitting at around 13, 14, a very different level to what we were when we last saw the all-time high on the JSE.
Yeah, correct. It is historically low. It's quite mixed, though. There's different sectors. The resource sector currently sitting at a P of between 8 and 9, so fairly attractive on the resource sector, versus a more expensive sector like the retail sector, which I'm sure we'll discuss on the back of the ShopRite numbers.
Yeah, let's touch on Kumba Iron Ore, because we saw Kumba flat slightly to the positive. Surprising, because a trading update saying that headline earnings per share could increase by as much as 25%. Was the market expecting a higher number from the trading update?
The numbers that they expect are between 51.40 and 55.80, yeah. And analysts do expect at the upper end of that range, so between at around 55.30. So it is at the upper end of that scale. Look, still very, very good numbers. Kumba continues to have sterling results. They've had a fantastic dividend, around 21 Rand the last set of earnings. So very, very good numbers. It just shows the absolute demand for iron ore. Hence also Exora, for example, they've just made a bid now in Australia to buy, it's called African Iron. They're paying a huge premium. Also, it just shows that there's such a huge demand for iron ore. But
operations are in the Congo, so
correct.
It's an African operation.
Correct, but they are primarily listing in Australia, for the company that Exora is looking to acquire. So there's just such huge demand for iron ore, showing in the earnings of Kumba, and I'm sure there'll be another great dividend. It's had a huge run up, and I think it will continue. It's at an earnings yield. If they anticipate earnings of 55.30 around that sort of level, that's what the analysts expect. It's on an earnings yield of about 10%, so a P of 10, not too bad.
Exora up 3.3%. This is quite a nice increase coming through into today's session, because the market didn't really respond to the news with regards to African Iron last week, but also an upgrade coming through into today's session with regards to where the share price could be going.
Exora was actually upgraded by a broker today. I don't think that was really one of the reasons why it had such a big run. Often brokers do upgrade and downgrade companies, and they don't really move too heavily on the back of that news. I just think that there was a lot of interest coming back into Exora. It's really lagged the rest of the market. It's even lagged the resource sector, which has been a major laggard across the board in all the different sectors. So really trying to play a little bit of catch up. Anglers and Billetsons have had a small run back up, and Exora is kind of at the bottom of the range. Also acquiring a business, never too good for a share price in the short term. In the long run, should pay off. Yeah.
With regards to Ashmont, also good news coming through from the company. Third quarter sales 24% higher for the third quarter, and that really beating forecasts, Daniel.
Yeah, that is at constant exchange rates.
Yeah.
They expected a 20% rise in earnings, so it came in at 24%, slightly better. And they did say that was largely due to the Asian market, who's actually flocked to Europe to actually buy at those stores. So there's been a lot of buying in the European market, as well as the American market was a lot better than anticipated. So perhaps the whole euro crisis isn't so bad. Hey, if everyone can afford expensive watches and expensive items, it shows people still do have disposable income to spend.
And Ashmont up 2.5% into today's session. ShopRite, we saw the turnover for the 6 months to the end of December growing by around 13%. Are you happy with those numbers?
I think so. I think it's fairly good. ShopRite had a massive run along with the rest of the sector. Massmart recently reported as well. I think that the whole sector is probably fairly priced. I wouldn't say overpriced. I think that the huge bull run in the retail sector might come to a halt, and not a complete halt, but a sudden slowdown. And it could be sideways for a while, perhaps until we see further better numbers coming out later in the year that can explain a further rally towards or into end of the year. I do foresee perhaps a switch into maybe the resource sector, and we've just started to see it in the banking sector at the moment. The banks are starting to pick up momentum, and Absa has actually just hit a new all-time high as well.
Interesting that. Let's touch on Life Healthcare very quickly. We don't have much time left. Subscription of 26% of the share capital of Max Healthcare coming through today.
Yeah, Life also listed about a year and a bit ago. They listed around the 13 Rand level. They're now trading at 21 Rand 50. Had a huge run, looking to grow rapidly into Africa and now into India as well. They acquired, as you said, Max Healthcare. It's a subsidiary of Max India, a very big business leader in India, and just shows that they're keen to grow. And it's a very competitive business. The healthcare business, the healthcare industry has been very dominating in the past year. In fact, one of the biggest moving sectors in the US last year was healthcare.
Would you buy into Life Healthcare?
I would like it to pull back slightly, maybe to the 20 Rand level, but I would definitely be buying at that level where it's pull back there. I do like the industry, I like the stock long term, and I do hold it in my personal
We've got over
portfolio
time. Very quickly, how do you trade these markets?
I think one has to trade with caution. We are at all-time highs. As I said, I did anticipate it to test these levels, possibly break above. I think you've got to have a slightly long bias, and one has to use stop losses if you are trading short term, but I would have a slight long-term bias.
Fantastic.